for this semester. I'm pretty sad that we can't have a live Agape Latte with our students, having our fresh cups of coffee and our yummy desserts, but we must do with what we have. And so we want to thank, first of all, Father Jeremy Zippel for accommodating us in the chapel. And I am so honored in presenting our My apologies. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce our guest. I've known her for almost long. I won't say the years because that will tell our age, and we certainly do not look our age. But she did graduate with me from St. Catherine Academy. We came to St. John's College, Junior College together. We were kind of rebels, or we didn't like each other back then. But I've learned so much from our guest. She has so much to tell you about her journey, and I would like to invite Christy Castillo Almeida as our first guest for the semester, and I'm so honored for her to be here. And she'll tell you a little bit more about her journey. Here.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for coming. Actually, when Melissa asked me to come speak, there was a miscommunication because I thought she was asking me to come and do like a sensitization training on autism. I did not realize I was saying yes to a personal journey, and then I was like, okay, I can figure this out. It's really hard. I stopped to think again and then thought, she must be crazy. I'm in my 40s, I'm unemployed, a bum basically. My life is kind of a mess most days, but I'm supposed to speak about something inspirational, and it was actually kind of hard to do. Hopefully, I'll figure it out. And actually, I had some help from Wakanda Forever, Chadwick Boseman. Once he passed away, I watch all the Marvels, the whole superhero verse. I love them, but I don't follow the actors. I've got a busy life. So I didn't know about him. But when he passed away, there was such an outpouring of love for this young man that I went and read up, and I found a quote from him that says, "Your purpose is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in all the things you are here to fulfill." Said that at Howard University at a graduation speech after they had just protested something. And that really made me think, what was my purpose? Why am I here right now? I hadn't lived in Belize for 19 years, and now I am home, and why? Why now? To think about that, I had to go back in the past. So, like Melissa said, SCA graduate, went to SJCJC, went to SUNY Cortland, graduated summa cum laude with a communications degree, came back to Belize and worked for a couple years before I started traveling around. But with all of that, I still remember my time at SJCJC. I had a professor that had us write a eulogy. And for my eulogy, I gave myself 14 bestsellers. 7 romances for when I fell in love and got married to my 7 husbands, and 7 murder mysteries for when I fell out of love and into rage and, maybe things happened. Don't judge me, I get bored easily. I recognize that. And those were my dreams at that time. And my life did not go that way. Not a best-selling novelist, didn't rule the world, not a famous actress, but I've lived. I came back to Belize and I did PR for the police department and then lobbied for women's rights, some speech writing, fell in love, followed a man, did that normal thing, and went to several different islands. I did Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, BVI first. And at every island I lived, I managed to find a job. I was a sales manager for a destination management company. So we planned corporate groups that would come to the island, and from airport transfers to theme parties and tours and buyouts of restaurants, really fun stuff. I was the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce and the Hotel Association in the British Virgin Islands. Organized the 3rd largest sailing regatta in the Caribbean. We went green, we did great things, joined Rotary, broke the Guinness Book of Records for the most books collected in 7 days for a charity. I was living the life, enjoying it. Wasn't my dream, wasn't my path, wasn't actually what I studied in college, but it was good. So, I'd lived with my husband for a couple years, got married, we'd been married for a couple years, life was great, and then we decided that, hey, we're gonna have kids. And because I'm, the planner now, this is what I've been doing from place to place, I've got to plan this out. So we go to Virgin Gorda, this beautiful little island in the British Virgin Islands. Wonderful resort, partied up New Year's Eve, throw away our birth control pills, and my plan was, I'm a Libra. My husband's a Libra. My mom, his mom, perfectly balanced in every way. Modest too. I figured I'm gonna get pregnant in January and I'm gonna have my baby in October for a Libra. My husband thinks I'm crazy, but he follows me around. January 12th, I fly to Aruba for work. I come back, a week and a half later or something, and I tell my husband, I'm pregnant. He's doubting Thomas, yeah, right. I'm like, no, I really am. Peed on a stick, go to the doctor, blood test. It took him a while to accept that it really happened in a 12-day period. So, planner in me, life is going great, loving it. My son is born September 22nd, 2007. Not a Libra, a Virgo. I should have known right then when God laughed at me that my journey was taking a whole different turn. The first 15 months of his life was great. He crawled, at 6 months, he walked at 9, climbed stairs at 10, he had words, we laughed. I was still doing a lot of events. I'd take him with me and I'd pass him off to someone and say, hey, watch my kid while I'm doing this, and then turn around and go, who's got my kid? He was sociable. He was, great, easygoing, no problem. Around 15 months, that starts to change. He starts getting ear infections. He starts getting fussy. My kid, who would eat 3 scrambled eggs at 15 months in the morning, all of a sudden became this really picky eater and had so many problems. There's just so many issues. And right around the time, this was months of it and no sleep, I was planning another regatta. Same big thing came around, and by the end of it, I was exhausted and just drained, and work, no sleep, stress with my kid, and I'm sitting there and I'm having a drink and just talking to a group of people, and I'm going off, and one of the ladies who didn't really know said, you know what, I'm a pediatrician, you should come see me. In hindsight, I think she was more worried about my mental state than what was going on with my son, but it was a good thing I went to see her. It started a whole different journey. We started doing ENTs, hearing tests, pediatric neurologist, developmental pediatrician, speech therapist. We started the whole gambit because everybody kept saying autism. I'm a voracious reader. I'm obviously a quick learner that I can do different jobs. I had no clue what autism was. Packed up my son, went to Canada. Husband's Canadian, son's Canadian, we go there. Again, trying to navigate the system and figure out what this is. Because, I could tell you Rain Man, but you have no clue. And the good thing is they have a center, the Geneva Center, that immediately there's social workers and counselors and a big library that helps you navigate the system. There's parent training every night, on Saturday all day, and I signed up for everything. And I was reading everything, all while on wait lists trying to get my son an official diagnosis. By this time, from everything I've read, I'm convinced that it's autism. Everybody's like, oh, Christy, don't think the worst. Like, it might be this, it might be that. Everybody else was really optimistic. At this point, I'm like, gung-ho, this is what it is. I'm calling doctors, and Canada has the best healthcare in the world. But at this time, this was about 2009, there were wait lists to see these specialists. And so I'd call a developmental pediatrician, and they said, okay, our next available appointment is 15 months away. Our next available appointment is 13 months away. No lie. So I was on these call lists for if anybody canceled to get in, did just about everything. We got the diagnosis. I was not prepared. I didn't just get an autism diagnosis. I got a severely autism diagnosis. which is the worst you can possibly get. Yeah, they call it level 3 now. They don't say severe. Let's be PC. Oh, Lord. All this time, like doctor visits and reading and trainings and trying to figure out everything else, I was on overload. And then, of course, I'm still dealing with my son who is not sleeping at all at night. And then I have to figure out what I'm going to do. My husband immediately starts looking for work to go back to Canada. But I'm talking to the specialists, and they're telling me even if they get him on the wait list right now, and we were still going through the diagnosis, that it would take 3 to 5 years to get him into the system for therapy. And if you're paying out of pocket for therapy in the US or in Canada, with the recommended amount of therapy you're going to need, it's going to cost you about $30,000 to $40,000 US. It's a college education every single year. It's ridiculous. What am I going to do? Well, remember, I was the director of Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association. I start emailing all the executives all throughout the Caribbean. Hey, remember me from St. Martin? I was da-da-da-da. I said, I know this isn't your area, but my son just got diagnosed, and do you know anybody, have any contacts, have a phone number? I was desperate. I sat in a cubicle for 2 days, and I always remember this because my uncle drove up from Chicago, and he sat with me, and I just did this whole long drive to just basically sit and watch me make phone call after phone call as I was searching. Because at the time, Google wasn't the best, and Facebook only had personal pages. There weren't pages for speech therapists and everything, right? So it's harder. And I searched, found out what was available in Trinidad was RDI. I wanted ABA. Bahamas was just building a center that would open in 6 to 9 months. Basically, no other island had anything. Then I discovered JASA, the Jamaica Autism Support Association. They had a very basic website with an Excel sheet that listed all the services that were available. And they had Therapy Plus with Lisa Stutter. It was like angels came down. Oh, it was, oh my God. I called Jamaica, and I'm talking to Lisa, and she was the first person I spoke to that knew the acronyms. I was saying ABAOT, did it, and she was like, and there was no like, what? She knew. So I hang up, look at my uncle, and say, I'm gonna go to Jamaica. Of course, you tell everybody else, everybody thinks, wait a minute, you have an option of staying in Canada and you're thinking about going to Jamaica? Are you insane? I will tell you now, my son has had the best therapists and some really great teachers at very good schools all throughout the Caribbean since then, and the best is still have been in Jamaica. We moved, we went to Jamaica. My life changed. It was all about autism 24/7. But I was extremely grateful for JASA, and so I got involved. And JASA was a small little parent organization. They had parent support groups, sibling support groups, Christmas parties, little events. But the co-founder, Kathy, had really great ideas, but was just really shy and needed some guidance. And hey, you know, I'm the Rotarian that plans parties. Let's do this. And we did. Through our first Surfing for Autism, which will be 10 years now in a row there, we hooked up with UE and started trying to push more careers there, sensitization training at airports, the works. And it was going well. But you know, life, cycles, it was time to move again. Left Jamaica, did PR, Puerto Rico again, and then Dominican Republic. Able to find good services, but did not find my network, the support I needed. And life got harder. I think I did all the trainings, I read all the books. Autism is a lifelong disorder. I know this. Emotionally, I don't know if I accepted it. And so when Mateo's young, and I'm trying floor time therapy, listening therapy, I mean, you named it, we tried it. We swam with dolphins, we rode horses, we did it. That somewhere inside me that I didn't want to accept was that I was thinking, I'm going to fix my child. He's severely autistic. We can work and we can improve in incremental steps, but this is who he is. And that's really hard for a parent to accept. My kid, who was going to rule the world and become a gazillionaire and the next Bill Gates and treat his mother like royalty, is probably not going to go to high school. He is going to be my baby for the rest of his life. And that's hard. And it's extremely hard when you watch him getting older and then the other kids are going off. So, we'd throw a birthday party, and I'd do the whole big bash, and one child would show up. True story. Even the friends that he did manage to cultivate, they started getting older, and they want to go play video games and tag, and he is still, to this day, watching Mickey Mouse and the Wiggles. It gets very isolated. Actually, Wednesday night, we did a training on special need parents and depression, and they were like, hopelessness, helplessness, frustration, the chronic stress, lack of sleep, and I could have ticked off everything. And I wish I'd done that training 2 years ago, because that probably would have put me in a much better place than I am in now. I found myself being very isolated. And Mateo cycles too, right? He'll do really well and start improving and maybe get a couple words, and then he'll regress and we'll lose the words again. He's basically nonverbal. We went through a point where he was doing self-injurious behaviors and started hitting his head, so we started trying different medications, which took him off the chart. So I had to take him out of school for an entire year because he was so aggressive. I was afraid of him hurting anybody else. There were days I locked myself in the bathroom to protect myself from my 10-year-old son from hurting me, because I couldn't stop it. The only thing that got me through it was running. I took it up. I hate it. It's hard. You got to focus. You got to try and breathe and worry about tripping and falling, because believe you me, look at my knees, I've done it. Worrying about the next thing. And I run half marathons and full marathons. And half marathons is 13.1 miles. A full marathon is 26.2. Do not tell me a 5K or a 10K and come tell me it's a marathon. I will lecture you. Came and ran my first at the end of the year, the end of the World Marathon in Placencia. Came in first for women. Ran 3 hours and 46 minutes. I was like, I'm doing good at this. I can go to Boston. So I went to Chicago to try and qualify for Boston. My qualifying time I needed to get into Boston Marathon was 3 hours and 40 minutes. I ran 3 hours, 41 minutes, and 12 seconds. Missed it by minute 12. But that kept me going. I had a running family. They try, but they don't understand my life. And running helped a little bit, but then when Mateo was getting aggressive, it got harder. Running became harder because I'd have to get up at 3:30 in the morning to run before he wakes. It was a challenge. I didn't even realize it, but I'd kind of stopped feeling. It was sort of cold. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just kind of going through the motions. I hadn't been home in a while either. And then my father passed away, and I come home for a funeral. Came back home that Christmas. My grandmother passed away, came back home again, and missed my grandma forever. But what that did was bring me home. Talking to my sisters. Realizing that I wasn't in a good place. So they looked at me and said, you need to come home. You can't do this on your own. Decided, yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I should come home. So packed up Mateo and moved right back home to Belize 18 years later. No job, no house, trying to figure it all out again, and not many specialists available to help me with Mateo. He's in Horizon, and he's happy, and he's good, but he's turned 13 last week, and he's got maybe another year or two in school, and then what? Because there's nothing here. So I've got to stop and think again, right? What's my purpose? Why am I here? George Price in 1962 gave a speech about appointment with history. He said, our emerging nation and its people have a right to expect us to rise to a new concept of patriotism in order to meet the challenge which the present and the future demand of us. The vision of a rich and happy future for our people should stir us to a greater united action. And what is the appointment with history? To build a nation by searching out and finding some common ground, some common purpose that we have, and on this foundation, build a strong house to withstand the floods of time. We don't write with all that flourish anymore these days. But what I take from this is that I've got 3 things going for me. My intrinsic skills, the things nobody else could teach me. I'm really good talking in front of people. I'm a determined person. Even when I was in elementary school, I said, oh, I'm going to be one of the first Belizeans to swim from the reef off St. George's Key to Belize City. And me and 4 other guys got together and we planned it and we did it. And we were the first Belizeans to do it. I'm determined. I don't like people to tell me no. I have those skills. Then I have the extrinsic things. The skills I learned at SJCJC. The skills I learned at on-the-job training when I get to Puerto Rico and I have to sell the island and I don't even know the island, or developing a website and I know nothing about it. You learn skills along the way in life. But if I take those 2 things and I find a common ground with a group of people, who knows what I can do? You know, we talk about building a nation, and that's what the goal is, right? We want to be builders. We want to do something. And so I figured there's not much here in Belize, and I can sit at home and drink and complain about it, or I can do something. I can build something. It's a quote from Melody Cameron, who is another special needs mom. She says, it's lonely, but when you meet someone who gets it, it's transforming. So I started planning. I went to my sister, who runs Horizon Academy, which coincidentally is one of the schools that is actually fully inclusive. And I told her, we need to build awareness. People just don't understand autism. They don't know what it is in Belize. We've got families out there that are isolated and don't want to talk about their child. We're going to do something. So we started planning. God laughs in my face again. Welcome COVID. We were going to launch in April. But determined, right? So we quickly restructured and started everything online. We've been doing live guest speaker events and we've done 14 since April. 3 parent-teacher trainings with as much as 80 people signing up for it. We have a monthly parent support group that's now built up to over 20 families. We're doing something even with COVID. Autism Belize is working to build a strong and a vibrant community of autism and other special needs families, professionals working in the field, and autism champions and supporters to help teach autism, promote awareness, show acceptance, and provide support. A Belize that is educated and accepting of differences will be a stronger, kinder, transformed Belize. My new purpose, for now, is this, and we're working towards it. So why am I here right now? Why did I move back to Belize right before COVID? I'd like to think it's to help other people who are struggling, just like I am. I still am. And be able to maybe help educate others and just maybe build something here that's going to be worthwhile, because I've got to think about my purpose, and you as SJC students out there that are listening, you're at that point in your life where you're trying to think about what your goals are and what your purpose is. But we can never forget, as we're thinking about where we are, is about what the future is going to be. The future for Belize, or in my case, the future of special needs kids, right? Because if they don't get the support that they need now, they're just going to be a burden on society later. But if we can provide support for them now, and therapy and training and education and whatever they need, then their progress might be really great. They might have so much to contribute to our society and to our country if we can help them now. So it's all about thinking about what my purpose is, what your purpose is, to make sure that what they will have a purpose, and that our country will in the world, because we can do things, right? We just got to find our common ground. And yeah, no advanced degrees, no fancy job, nothing like that. But that's my story. And if anybody wants to find out more about Autism Belize, we have a website that, taught myself to create, so it's mine. AutismBelize.org. You can reach out to us through Facebook, and we're always here to talk for parents who are struggling. Questions? I don't know if we're going to get any that might be coming in from Facebook. I don't know if you guys are going to see anybody posting or saying anything. Oh, Sorry. There. There you go. Yes.
What would you tell parents that didn't have all those resources you have? Because you were saying that you were in Canada and then you just said, okay, move to Jamaica.
There's not a week since I started Autism Belize that I don't talk to a parent, like a new one. I keep in contact with those, but I have at least a new parent or a new family that will contact me every single week. And they will ask that because they're struggling and they don't know. Now I can point them to our website where I have the same therapists that have helped Mateo through all the different countries have held guest speaker events where we are talking about language things and alternative forms of communication and managing behaviors and independent play and online learning for special needs kids. We've been doing these, so those are online. And we've been doing in-depth parent-teacher trainings. Again, specialists, our last one was specialists from New York who we do a Zoom meeting and they sign in, they present, we ask questions. So what I'm trying to do is if parents can't afford or don't have the access to it, which is the majority of them, that we are trying to give them the skills to help themselves. So, okay, I can't afford behavioral therapy, but I can teach you the basics so you can use those fundamental skills at your home to do your own form of therapy or how to promote language in your house. So we have started with that, just between the live guest speakers and the trainings. The trainings are more in depth and because it's Zoom and it's private, they get to ask more questions and parents are more comfortable to say, well, this is my problem with my child. So we've been doing that. The parent support group, because I tell them every time, some of the best advice I've had over the years have not been from the specialist. Remember I said you don't really know autism until you've lived autism. The best advice I've gotten have been from other parents. And I've discovered that even with like our own Belize parent support group. We've had a couple parents who are struggling with potty training, and one parent said, I found this and I tried it and it's working. And every meeting since, we've had parents saying, my kid's potty trainer, he's just about there. So, and there's tips like that, right? There's part of that discussion. So just joining one of these things so we can talk about our problems and our struggles, somebody else has been through it and somebody else can say, maybe try this. Because it's a spectrum, there is no one answer. One therapy might work for one child, might not work for the other. And so it is about saying, okay, that didn't work for me, but I tried this parent's advice, or I tried that. And so we've just got to use what we have available, and I've been tapping into as much as possible my network that I've built over the years of being away. And then there's also Camp Joy in Belmopan, who brings in experts every year to run a special needs camp in the summer. And their people reach out to me if they found Autism Belize, and they said, we usually come every year, we couldn't come to Belize this year, but we want to help because we love what you're doing. And so my next training coming up at the end of October is actually going to be led by one of those people that helped started Camp Joy. Because you know, with Zoom, it doesn't matter what country you're in. We don't need to get on a plane. So we're doing this, and we've been doing a parent training basically every month for it. And teachers, we've had a lot of teachers. We're giving certificates. We're talking with TEDs and working out work so that they can get the professional development, continuous training, whatever it is, yes. So the hope is that we can help educators when they have the kids in the classroom and with parents.
I have a comment from Yesenia Argueta who says, you're such an inspiration. I bet there are many mothers suffering in silence and do need help. And thank you for not giving up. God bless you.
Thank you.
And was it harder for you to deal with your son's diagnostic or your husband? Who found it harder?
I accepted it first. I was a hands-on one. I saw the changes and I started it. And when like I said in the beginning, nobody, even my family, I come from a family of educators. Initially were telling me, calm down, Christy, hold on, let's wait, boys develop. And my husband, I got an initial diagnosis from a pediatric neurologist in St. Thomas, and he was like, no, you're going to Canada. We need somebody, because what do these people know? So he had a harder time with it. But like I said, there's levels of acceptance too, right? Because I think at some point you're thinking, oh, they're young and it'll get better. And as they get older, I think both him and I have struggled at different times, at different phases that Teo has gone through. So I don't think it's been easy for either. It's just each in their own space, right? Yes.
Stand closer to the mic.
Okay.
This is from the Dean. She says, thank you for sharing your story. It was very inspiring. What advice would you give students who are worried about their future, considering the current situation? That is, that due to the pandemic, their future is uncertain.
What I discovered through my life is that everything is uncertain. I mean, when I went away to school and I came back, I was certain I was going to come back and write speeches and do this. And remember that you've got your intrinsic skills and your extrinsic skills, and nobody can take that away from you. So that what I'm saying is you have your core talents, whether it's dribbling a ball and playing something, or dancing or singing, or being extremely great at math or computers. You have stuff that you are just really good at. And everything else, you can learn. Aladdin, right? He can be taught. And nobody's going to take that away from you. So it might take some creativity. Your path might change this way or this way. But the idea is, if you're still willing to learn at whatever age you are, if I can learn to do a website at 40-something, you can learn. And you can do it. And what I would love for the Dean to do is to have me back so we can talk about all the many careers in the field of special needs that goes way beyond teaching. There are so many careers out there that you can make bank with. I mean, these are money-making things that you guys aren't even thinking about because you're not exposed to it yet. And I would love to come and expose it to you guys.
I have a question. How challenging has it been trying to work with Belize Autism? What are the challenges that you have faced as a mom or as the organizer for your NGO?
There's a lot. General public is, I find with Belize is, if you understand, you accept. I don't think that people mean to be rude or that they're shunning or discriminating. I just think that people don't understand. And I'll give you an example. We go to the grocery store, my son is running around or whatever, and I can get a look or whatever, and somebody comes up to me and says, Miss, what's wrong with your son? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's different. He has autism, which usually goes over someone's head, but I'll explain some basics and they go, okay. And now when I go back, they go, hey, where's your son? And they're a lot nicer. And so I feel like there's a lack of just basic awareness. And when you get that awareness, you'll get acceptance. So that we have to build on. For groups that there are pockets of things that are being done around the country for special needs, but it's very small. And I think we need to network better. And it's not about, wait, I'm doing this or I'm protecting this. I'm doing this and I'm not, all the trainings, everything is free. We're doing a special needs yoga for parents and kids on Saturday. Everything we've done is free. This is not for money. This isn't a job. This is a labor of love. And so when I want to go and speak to a government ministry or another organization, this is not about trying to step on anyone's toes. It's about trying to build everyone together. And I think sometimes we've got to think big picture rather than little picture. Like we got to go in and say, hey, you know, this is, can we do this together? And so sometimes we have to work on that as a country. You know, sometimes we're so busy trying to protect what we're doing that we're not thinking about how better. And we are a small country, and that means our little special needs community will be even smaller. So even though someone might totally believe in a special diet and I might not, or something else, we might have different views on how to approach things. Because this is our focus, we should work together. And that's something I'm really trying to promote. And I will say, though, that there have been some organizations that have been very welcoming and accepting of me. I think right off of the Belize Brain Awareness Society, they're like, hey, come, how can we work? And so some of them have been very, very open. Mind Health Connect has been amazing in giving me tips and pointers on where to go, because I'd been out of the country for 18 years. I know nothing that was going on. I still get lost in the streets and have my niece and nephew laugh at me. They're like, Christy, you done a fraya? And I go, yeah, just in a while. So, anything? Yes?
As a mother interacting with her son, could you share one of the wonderful experiences that you've had with Mateo?
Oh, gosh. We celebrate the smallest things, right? Mateo started saying his name. He was probably about 9 years old. He said, Mateo. And that was amazing in of itself. But what really got to me is we were at this small school in Dominican Republic, and they were so great. A regular school, and when we took them, they said, well, you know, we've never really dealt with this before, but we're willing to try. And that's, as a parent, I don't care what you'll say about fancy schools or whatever. All I want to hear is somebody who's going to be willing to try and be flexible. And so they were great. But when he starts, everybody in the school starts going up. And I'm not talking about his grade. I'm talking from like infant 1 to standard 6. Everybody's going, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? And it was so much that we had been at the school for just a couple months that a parent had come to me at like a parent gathering. And they're like, I didn't know that was Mateo. And I was like, okay, like, where's she going with this? What did my child do? And she's like, no, my daughter is in 8th grade, and she keeps coming up to me and talk every day. She is, and Mateo is da-da-da-da-da. That the parent thought that there was a new kid in her class, not in 1st grade, you know? And so I think one of the best things for me isn't necessarily his accomplishment, but when I see others accepting him and just being very open about what it is, right? They might not necessarily know everything about autism, but they're going to accept the fact that he's different. And I love that. Like, they'd have sports day and they'd send me a video, and all the kids are doing this because they realize when they clap and they cheer for him, it's too loud and he'll stop running. So they do this to cheer for him. So the whole school goes quiet, and they do this as he's racing. And sometimes it's those little things that really make, I mean, I've had the times when he'll just come and hug me, or, you know, there are times he'll just kind of look at you and you can tell that, like, I'm feeling bad and sick, and he'll come and hug, and I go, he really is empathetic and he gets emotion, and there's stuff like that. But as a mom, the best things is when other people will celebrate and accept and enjoy the very little things that he can do. Are we good? Nope. All right, well, thank you guys very much for your time. I hope you get something from it, and, you know, good luck with COVID and your online learning, because I all know it's a challenge. My son will sit home and he'll do his work, and then the teacher zooms in and she sees her face, and my son starts crying. So that's my new challenge. Why all of a sudden is the teacher making him cry as he sees a face over Zoom? So good luck with your online learning, and thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
We also want to remember that the month of October is Mental Health Awareness Month, and that is why we wanted to start off with
Somebody who
Christy.
needs mental health.
That's a different story. That's a different Agape Latte. But I have been inspired by your story, and I have been following your story. Of course, we are there. Our class is a very, very close-knitted class, and so we get along and we know what's happening. And I know whatever we can do to support you and your cause, we're there. And as an SJC community, we're also here supporting it as well. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the faculty who are here again. We have very limited people in here because we want to still keep the SIs in place. Our masks are on, and, you know, we're trying to keep the rules, but, you know, in any other circumstance, we would be celebrating over a cup of coffee. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Christy, for being here. Thank you, Father Jeremy and the Jesuit community for hosting us. And those of you who are watching live, thank you for joining us. Campus ministers, thank you for helping to organize. And we will see you in 2 months for our next Agape Latte, we're going to have a faculty member. And I'm not going to tell you who it is until the day that person presents. Thank you guys. Have a great day, evening, afternoon, weekend. Stay safe. Go forth, set the world on fire. Bye, everyone.
Wear your mask, wash your
Wash-
hands, watch your distance. Your 3
That's
Ws.
Bye, everyone.
There we go. Until I can take it.